I think every history class today should hear that presentation.
Yes.
That was amazing, and we so appreciate your doing that. So I have this roving mic, and we're gonna ask for questions. Linda will be on that side, and I'm gonna be over here. So if you have a question for Walt, I just want to preface that. These are questions. These are not statements of support or against the public lands. These are questions for Walt. Anybody have a question?
I probably don't need it.
Oh, yeah.
Have you talked to PBS? This needs to be everywhere.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Everywhere.
I haven't talked to them. You might suggest that. Again, I really am on the road constantly doing this. I got home and I got a call from Idaho, which will be my 16th state, I think, to come up there and do two different universities, Southern Idaho and the University of Idaho at Moscow, which will be a great place to do this. It's yours. You take this, share it wherever you want. I don't have a thing that's copyrighted. This is no kind of business for me. My goal is to get the word out, and anything I have, I want to put up on this in a second, done by my daughter, not me, is a QR code that'll take you to my website.
Perfect.
And anything on there is yours. There's a whole lot of information outside the stuff that I do, talking to people. There's a number of videos. The guy that did the video work on this got so enthusiastic about this project, he now helps me pro bono. And so he's done a bunch of shorts on there. There's one that I've shared before. Aaron Kendall back here with the National Wildlife Federation has got a couple of them. We did a podcast. I've got a number of podcasts that have gone nationally with interviews. Aaron and another National Wildlife person did an interview. We talked about all kinds of things that you would be interested in. So I'll share that, and I'll share that with the League of Women Voters. But all the lines of information that are on that website were put together by the League of Women Voters in Utah. This is, you probably know this is a national issue for the League of Women Voters. It's on your plank nationally as something that you support keeping public lands in public hands and used for multiple use. And so, you gotta know that. Look here, the only way this is gonna stop, the only way this word's gonna get out, not because this old guy's doing it, because you take all this and you spread it out. Another thing, just real quickly, Karen, that we got going, one of my great concerns, and I've talked to some folks here, including Aaron, how do we get young people to understand this? Because they're not gonna come, in many cases, to an hour presentation like this. It's just not how they do business. And what we've started doing, I'm not set up to share with you, but 30 to 1 minute, 30-second to 1 minute little blasts that go out on Instagram. And I was just with the University of North Dakota and North Dakota State students. They said, well, how can we help? I said, get out there when you're using these public lands. Say, hi, this is Bill. I grew up in wherever you grew up, and I'm out here mountain biking, fishing, hunting, whatever I'm doing, because you and I all own these lands. Whatever they want to say in 30 or a minute, they share it with all their people. That's how this will go around a whole lot. So I've got some people trying to help me do that. I was out riding a mountain bike here the other day, which I'm going to do with my friend Alan here pretty soon, to show you that old people can still do stuff. I just stopped up there. I got the Collegiate Peaks behind me, and I said, hi, this is Old Ranger Walt, and I'm out here on my mountain bike. The Collegiate Peaks are behind me, and I talked to him, and I told him what I just told you. Make one of these videos. And the other thing, because somebody's going to ask me, and I'm going to tell you before you do, what can I do? This cannot happen if Congress doesn't allow it to happen. The only way you can transfer the lands is if Congress does it. You can't just go sell lands. Congress has to approve it. They need to know unequivocally in a perfect example of that, there was 3 million acres of public land in Senator Lee's bill to the great, whatever they called it, or the big beautiful bill. That got stripped out because people said no.
Right.
And this issue is not a very partisan issue. If you're a hunter, a fisherman, a 4-wheel drive user, a horseman, a mushroom picker, firewood cutter, river runner, mountain biker, peak bagger, whatever you are, you're from every possible political persuasion. And if these lands go away, you got no place to go. Come to Texas and see what that looks like. You are not trespassing in Texas or a lot of other states as long as you stay on the damn sidewalk or street.
So also, you should know that at our League of Women Voters site, this video as a standalone
Yeah.
will be there. So you can tell all your friends. We're also, Tish is filming this portion, the question and answer, and Walt's introduction. So they can watch all 3, or you can just get that link and send it to whomever you know. Another question. Jeff, ex-science teacher?
Oh. Don't ask a hard science question.
Looking to the future, and in particular referencing your appeal to the next generation, for a lot of people, Park Service, Forest Service, BLM, wilderness areas, Fish and Wildlife Service, it's all a big puzzle piece that they don't understand those relationships and the history behind it. Do you think there's any possibility for the future that maybe all or some of those can get organized together and also be more government efficiency? And if you have any thoughts on that?
Yes.
Thoughts are yes, it should happen.
For one, just off the top of my head, I would put Forest Service into Interior and not be in agriculture. Makes no damn sense now, because you know that figure of $6.1 billion in Utah for outdoor recreation, that went to 9.5 last year, again from the Department of Commerce. Outdoor recreation on these lands dwarfs a lot of other uses, including mining and grazing and all those kind of things combined. It is a huge business, and there's thousands of people making their living. That figure nationally now is $1.2 trillion in economic activity generated and something like 4 or 5 million jobs. That is a big chunk of our economy, and so that needs to continue. So putting those 2 together, what's happening to the federal agencies right now is brutal. They were already in deep trouble. This is, and I understand they're more getting fired right now during the furlough, which is, it was already a struggle to do that. We got to build them back someday, unless the American people accept that they don't care about this kind of thing, which I don't think will be the case. We're going to be building it back. And as we do, a couple of things. One is we ought to do it very deliberately and carefully. This isn't how any of you that were in industry or business, if you're going to downsize something, you have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You do it carefully. You think about every position you're going to remove and make sure it is a key position to accomplishing your mission. I had to do that. I had to lay off a bunch of people. We didn't just look at dollar signs and that. We did triage, which is what's going to hurt the organization the least, and that we can bring back to reestablish what we have to do when times change. Times will change, I have to hope that. And so we want to build it back right, and then start filling it with the people we need to make sure that is. Are you doing some things you shouldn't be doing? Are you doing some things not well enough that you should be and you need to add to it? Or are you not doing some things that you should be doing? And then proceed to restore it that way. One of the things specifically that I cannot comprehend, we have the world's premier national park system. Really the first real national park system. For $3.5 billion budget, it generates about $56 billion in economic activity. All you gotta do is go walk through a parking lot in any national park and look at the license plates. I've talked to so many thousands of visitors that were from foreign countries that came over here specifically because of the parks. And so now we are deliberately destroying them. I just sit there and go, what could be the motive of this thing? Because the agencies now have been told, we're gonna keep cutting your positions, you cannot close anything, and you're probably not getting paid now, but you'll keep everything open. So they're gonna run the entrance stations, they're gonna try to keep some bathrooms clean, and they're gonna run the visitor center with limited staff. There's so many things that are not getting fixed and taken care of behind the scenes. As it continues on, you're gonna see the Forest Service and BLM closing campgrounds, closing bathrooms. When you close a bathroom in a place that people are usually going out there, they don't quit going to the bathroom.
That's right.
And so what you have in every CXT, every vault toilet out there, is a whole sea of poop and toilet paper around them because they counted on that bathroom being there.
Right.
So it's gonna get a whole lot grimmer before it gets better. We ought to look at everything. The agency's functions are different. What you do in the Forest Service and BLM is different than the national parks. Parks are, you don't consumptively use them, although with 339 million visits last year to the national park system, there's a serious consumptive use of that, because
Yeah.
there is an impact to that. 339 million set a record. That's just huge. So we ought to look at combining some of them. One of my great concerns is young people again. I bet you 80+% of young people don't even know they have these lands, don't know they own these lands, aren't out there using these lands. They're in urban areas, their view of the world is right here.
Yeah.
And they're not in touch with any of that. We've got to figure a way, and COVID helped, to be honest with you. Those people wanted to escape town and they got out of town. They didn't have a clue what they were doing. They didn't have the equipment. Some of them got in trouble, lost, and all kinds of things we had to deal with. But a lot of them liked it, and now they're out there. Those of you that have done a lot of dispersed camping on public lands, every nook and cranny now has got somebody in it during any kind of reasonable weather. So people love these lands. They're starting to learn. We got to figure out how to. This person's question, the professor's question here, how to get them in touch with the land, and that's a huge challenge. We're so focused on things that in day-to-day life that I don't think are very damn important, but the kids are focused. How do you get their attention off of that? Because they're the landowners of the future.
Okay, Sue?
I say instead of getting.
Hang on, because we want to hear you in our video.
Instead of getting the attention off the phone, use the phone as a way to communicate your message.
Like-
And I would suggest, just in listening to you, there's so many influencers out there, and they are connected with retailers who support all the things involved in camping, biking, all the sports. So go to the retailers, use the influencers they use to get out these little segments on your speech.
And when I say the phone, they're so focused in technology. I mean, I was talking
And
to
let's use
some friends today about kids spend hours gaming when they could be out on a mountain bike or something, which I just can't imagine. I haven't played a game ever since I played in high school duck hunt, which was as detailed as I wanted it to be. But we need help. It sounds like,
the big retailers.
yes,
Working with the big retailers that provide the equipment to these people that are enjoying outdoor activities and parks, etc.
we need some serious help doing that.
What's that?
I
Norma?
said, we need some serious help doing that. I'm a one-man band.
Not my age. They need to be young people that are doing that.
Talk to some young people you know.
What's that?
Talk to young people you know. We all need to help with this. I have no organization. In fact, I'm pretty damn disorganized.
I need to know as an individual who's just right now deciding I'm only gonna focus on, I can't focus on everything, I'm only gonna focus on public lands. I used to work on an Indian nation, and I'm really involved with the land back process. But the question is, what can an individual do that's gonna be most effective in our community?
Can you hear this okay?
Yeah.
I think for sure, as it relates to your congressional delegation, which is hugely important, because Senator Lee just regrouped and he's trying another approach right now. Aaron can probably tell you more about it than I have because I haven't looked into it yet, but it's playing games with wilderness and parks and all kinds of things along the border to figuring ways to get their feet in the door to sell it. I guarantee you, that 3 million acres of land that was for sale was not for affordable housing.
No,
Well, it might be, but for who?
right.
I guarantee you they knew who was gonna buy that land, and it would not have been me outbidding them, I guarantee you that.
Another
If
question?
you,
Go ahead.
if you are gonna get involved with your legislature, which you all should, your congressional delegation, calling them is the best thing you can do. When you call a legislative office, whether it's state or federal, national, they log that call. Somebody calls, they put your name down, your zip code down, what your issue is, and what your position is. You send them a letter that's better than doing nothing, that can go in a pile and get lost. After a while, when there's a whole bunch of those phone calls, the staffer goes in and says, boss, we might want to pay some attention to this. If there's this many calling, there's a bunch of other people thinking about that. Aaron, were you gonna add something? Aaron works on this every day. If you don't know him, Aaron Kendall with National Wildlife.
Howdy everybody, Aaron Kendall. I think what I would answer your question with is Senator Mike Lee is kind of the head of the snake right now, Public Lands Divestiture. He's also the head of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. So one of the things that we can do as citizens is talk to the folks who are also on that committee and try to create some friction in that committee. And what I would tell you is that our senators are on our side with keeping public lands in public hands here in Colorado. So it's not our senators what we really need to lobby. But if you have friends in the states that these other senators are in, that's a good person to share this video that Walt just shared with us. Those are the folks that need to be influenced. And I'll tell you, through my advocacy across the country, they heard on this more than they've heard on very many issues when this came up. So that's why that 3 million acres was stripped out of the big beautiful bill as we know it, and it worked and it'll keep working. But go to your friends in these other states. Most of you probably know folks in other states share this kind of thing. Get them activated, because that's really where the rubber meets the road, is starting in the Senate Energy Natural Resources Committee.
Aaron, can you send me a link to all the people on that committee and I can post it on the website? Okay, we will do that. Reed?
The Antiquities Act was created to make national monuments, and currently we have a president who's trying to eliminate national monuments. Is it your opinion there's anything in that legislation that would make that allowable?
That's a great question. The focus of that is Grand Staircase, Escalante, and the Bears Ears. Both of those are in Utah. And when President Trump came in his first term, they reduced, Senator Hatch got him to reduce the acreage in those. Biden came in, raised it back up. I think the law, but it's clearly not clear, the Antiquities Act, if you are a president and you set aside a piece of land and you come in as the next president, it makes no sense whatsoever for you to be able to undo or
Right.
reduce. Doesn't make any sense. But that's a legal question you gotta do, because up to now, it's been the only people that could deauthorize or reduce a monument is who? Congress. And that's what it has to be, because this whimsical thing of back and forth, I can tell you from the people I know on the ground in the BLM and the Forest Service, they're having to make the next management plan that then comes in and gets wiped out after 2 years, back and forth is ridiculous. It's wasteful. The answer to your questions, I think it says that. If it doesn't say that, if we get a Congress that will listen to us, we need to put one sentence in there that says something like, if a monument is established by a president, it can only be deauthorized or reduced by an act of Congress. And that would work.
Okay, Jim,
Yeah, just for your information,
question?
not a question, it's a statement to help you.
Yeah,
There was a.
I need help.
Yeah, we all do. I just read an article today in a local high school newspaper in Salida, and the article was about keeping public lands public, and it was really against our senator, your senator from Utah, and what he is trying to do. So this is a young kid in high school that put this article out, and he is supporting trying to keep public lands public.
Why don't you send that to me and I'll give it to Walt for a
That'd
resource?
be great.
I'm gonna give that to Bill.
And one correction, he's not my senator. I live here.
Did you change your voter registration to Colorado?
Absolutely.
Just checking.
This isn't a scam, I'm here.
I have a comment here, Walt. Many of us in this room have Facebook, use Facebook. And once this video is out on the League of Women's Voters website, I think it would be very easy for any or all of us to post a Facebook comment and include that link in it.
Yes.
And I think that would cover quite a bit of ground.
That's good, and if any of you do that, there's a place on our website that you can contact us. Just put in a contact and say, I posted on Facebook, the link, so we know if we're getting very far.
But
Okay.
I said young people can do those little 30-second videos. I'm
So
not.
can we.
I do them, and I'm a young guy. You can do them, just whatever you're out there doing. I know there's fishermen and hunters and all kinds of users in here. Just be out there and tell what you're doing, why they're important to you, and share it with all your friends on Facebook and have them send it on. There's a lot of people that don't even think about, hell, we could be out doing that.
Go ahead.
Can I press the button?
Nope, just talk.
Has there been any movement at all on the mining bill of 1872, which we are all still living under? And it makes no sense to me that a foreign person can come in and decide to just mine in our country, and then when he's not making any money anymore, he can declare bankruptcy and run back to his country, and guess who pays for the cleanup? It's all of us.
You're
And I
absolutely,
do not understand why we haven't done anything to stop that.
your senators and congressmen are the ones that have got to do that. But you're exactly right, it makes no sense. Australia or Rio Tinto in Argentina or whoever it is, they usually get mining claims from Americans. But once they have them, they buy up these mining claims and they start mining. There's no royalty to the federal government, you're right. And historically, it's gotten better, but historically, and Colorado is a perfect example of the damage that's happened to the land out there that would take us billions of dollars to actually fix. With acid mine, water running into rivers, and all kinds of problems out there. They've tried to establish in the permitting process money on the barrelhead now, as opposed to bonding or any kind of stipulation in the contract, where they do just what you said. is they'll set up a company to do the mining, and then when it comes time, they're through with it, and it's reclamation time, file bankruptcy, and they're gone. And we are stuck. So, charge a fair rate, royalty, and put stipulations in there, and put some process, and I don't know exactly what that is, so that there's no way to walk off without the money being on the barrelhead.
Sir?
Walt, I live in a town about 20 miles from the middle of the Appalachian Trail. We drove all the way out here to hear this. And, so I just wondered, all that white space in the eastern U.S., Smoky Mountains, I've hiked about half of the Appalachian Trail. And sometimes I'm on private land, sometimes I'm in a state park, sometimes I'm in a national forest. Do I have to worry about this? Public lands?
I don't think the threat is as great back there because you really don't have the lands. And what they're going after in large measure are the big forest, non-wilderness, and the undesignated lands that are in BLM. At least that's their focus right now. And when they say undesignated, they're also saying these are wastelands. They are not. They're where you hunt and fish and camp and do all those kind of things. They're not wastelands. The only reason they weren't bought or homesteaded is why? They were too dry. And that just makes sense. And so for us, they're not wastelands. Again, the value of them in keeping them in outdoor recreation is huge compared to a lot of other things. And assuming someday we move further and further away from coal and oil, and I don't want to get into a political discussion about that, coal and oil, but the economics are such that that is going that way regardless of what we do. Those revenues off of public lands for those kind of things are going to continue to go down with the ability of a population of 335 million now to go out and do the kind of things that people are wanting to do is going to be more and more valuable economically as we go down. Let me give you a couple of figures real quick on I told you I need help. Colorado, you got right at 6 million people. I was amazed. I thought North Dakota and South Dakota would be huge public land states. They're 4 or 5% lands, and a lot of it they were claimed because they're dry land farm up there, and you apparently can make it. Colorado, Utah is 62 or 3% publicly owned land. Nevada is 80% publicly owned land. Again, why? They were so dry.
Yeah.
Those are the top two. Colorado is 36.2% publicly owned land. We own 32%. Outdoor recreation in Colorado, again, Department of Commerce, $17.2 billion that outdoor recreation is doing here. And folks will say, yeah, but you're counting ski areas in there. Where do you think those ski areas are? They're on Forest Service permits. They're on your land. Hilt payments to Colorado were $51 million payment in lieu of taxes. The Office of Natural Resource Revenue, you look this all up yourself, for Colorado last year was $90 million in federal revenue sharing that came to you. If mining was paying what it's supposed to pay, that could be easily much more than that. Because they're still going big time after lithium and things like that on public lands. And if this doesn't change, all those big lithium mines are not going to give us anything.
Okay, we have another question?
Yeah, is there another approach we could take on this? I'm looking around the room, we're median age, I'm guessing is 60. And we have a certain amount of money that we could leave as legacy maybe. Is there an organization out there that you could give money to that could lobby on behalf of the environment that you know of?
There's a number of them. One of them's in this room right now, National Wildlife Federation. They're hunters and fishermen, but they're conservationists, and they're doing all kinds of work, strong work. and I would hope you would talk to Aaron after this and just let him know. But there's a whole coalition of groups. What we need to do better is work close together. And one of the things I told a group in Wyoming the other day, I was up there 2 days, one day talking to a bunch of conservation organizations, Wilderness, Sierra Club, Trust for Public Lands, Nature Conservancy, Powder River Coalition, the Arapaho and Shoshone tribes, and they said, you got anything else that you might tell us? Which is always a mistake for me. I said, yeah, what is that? I said, I look around this room and it's all conservation organizations. I said, the public land users are horse people, they're four-wheel drive users, they're fishermen, they're hunters, they're mountain bikers, all those different kind of things. They're from every political persuasion. We pick at each other because a lot of people don't like people that use side-by-sides because they're noisy or whatever it is. Hikers don't like horse people because they don't like stepping in it. Horse people don't like me, mountain biker, because they think I'm gonna spook their horse. We need to quit picking at each other about the philosophical differences, because the bottom line is if the lands are gone, it doesn't matter what you like to do, you're not gonna do it anymore. And we need to lock arms with each other and move forward because we're stronger together than we are individually by far. And so to the extent you're looking for stuff like that, work with organizations that are really working together, because we're so much stronger. And this, to me, is one of the least partisan, most unifying subjects there is. Some lady stood up a while ago and said, and I learned this in 1970 from an old guy who was assigned to help as an aide. I was pacing the room one night and he started laughing and said, what's the matter? And he said, you're trying to figure out how to save the world at 23. That's a long time ago. At 23, he said, you can't. He said, you gotta pick something you're passionate about, you know something about, you're good at, and focus on that, and you can make a difference. If you look at the whole mess, you'll do nothing but dissipate your energy and frustration, and you'll get nothing done. And he was absolutely right. So whatever it is, you need to pick something. This is not the time to sit back. This is the time to pick something you want to fight and work on and get the hell after it. And you donating, that's another way to help, and there's a lot of organizations out there, and National Wildlife Federation is one that's working every day to fight this thing. National Parks and Conservation, a lot of those organizations.
Help me understand, because I feel afraid. This is the Western U.S., so we support our public lands, but there is a slim majority in Congress. Many, many of those people do not spend time in public lands. How can we be sure that with a slim majority, you know, development and drilling passes?
The big concern to me is not the individual issues now, it's keeping the land. Because I think that is an absolute serious threat. And I'm not gonna minimize the efforts on drilling or logging or anything like that. But the bottom line is it has to make economic sense for somebody to do it. And you can say, go drill. Just as an example, there's 1,000 permits left over from the Biden administration to drill on public lands right now. Do you know why they're not drilling? Because oil is at $58 a barrel, and unless it's 80, you're not gonna drill. I don't care what you pronounce and say, you're not gonna do that. We need to hold the line there, but the thing to keep doing is talking to your legislators and making them understand. Somebody said, call your friends in these other states, Aaron did, to talk to them about contacting their senators. And if you got friends back east, they need to, this may not be on their radar screen, but they need to know about this threat. Share that movie. There's also a couple of shorts in there that you can share that might hook them. There's a trailer for that movie that's a minute long. And a lot of people have looked at that and went, maybe this is something I want to see, because an hour is an investment. We need to get people in other parts of the country knowing this is an issue.
Okay.
One thing, last thing on that I'll tell you is, with the exception of Utah, there's a lot of other senators and congressmen out here that know their constituents can still know how to form a lynch mob. And a whole lot of people out here make their living as guides and outfitters, hunting guides, whatever it is, river guides. They live in communities where they, you know, for generations have gone out there and parked their trailer in some special place on the forest where their granddad used to take them for hunt camp, put it out there a month early and go check on it, be sure nobody's towed it out and took their spot. And they don't want that to go away. So we need to let the eastern ones know that a lot of this information they're hearing is not true, and don't get sucked into this. We don't want these lands to go away. But their constituents need, your friends that lead back there need to be putting this with phone calls on their radar screen.
Okay, last question, Jim.
The lady over here was talking about mineral and toxic waste. We have got a lot of toxic waste from the mining period. She was talking about recently. I walked into Galactic Resources because I was doing vegetation regeneration as a consultant on their project down there, and I says, I quit because their leaching deal was supposed to have 4 feet of sand over the rock. And I was just curious about something, found 6 inches in one location. And he beat it out of this country after ruining it down there. I walked in, told his manager, I quit. The gentleman standing next to me said, I'm pulling all my heavy equipment. That was Dennis Washington out of Montana. He says, I'm not gonna be involved. You find another heavy.
What's your question?
But where are we gonna be able to have the money to deal with things like a number of mines in southwest Colorado? I mean, the government has got a deficit that is so great, and we're talking about billions of dollars to get, where are we gonna get the money?
I don't know that, and what you say is absolutely true. There's thousands of uncapped abandoned wells too that are spewing methane every day that we need to go do. We need a plan and some people that can do things that make fiscal sense. We could get ourselves out of this mess if we would work together and get some people in there that are willing to listen and are not focused on just one little segment of our population.
So thank you again, Walt.